So please get excited. And yeah, all three of them got it. So. I know. This was very anticlimactic. Yes, we can celebrate now. So, of course, I have to ask the question, do you accept the vote?
Yes.
Thank you, that's very good.
So, now it's getting quite exciting. With this, I open top 11, Wahlvorsitzende des Bundesvorstands MCP. Okay, that's usually caught me by surprise if we have like something. I think that the next couple of hours, connected to the couple of days are to come, the most exciting, the most responsible and humbling in the role of being an LCP. Because when it comes to the MCP elections, this is the moment where we not think anymore in our local committees, but we think as one IC Germany. And in fact, I think one of the most kind of mysteriously full of miracle moment is not only looking or going through the process together with the candidates, but to know that your choice is pretty much the choice about where our IC in Germany is going to be in 2, 5, and 10 years. And something very, very beautiful. And giving you this introduction, I thought, I don't know, just to share like a couple of thoughts I have. So it's nothing big, and I didn't think of it this much. Just wanted you to let know that a lot of things, like a lot of thoughts are coming up, and the intensity of the MCP election process is in the same on both sides. Meaning, of course, I remember being a year ago on this stage. It's very intense for a candidate. So I wish for you to show them nothing but admiration and support for what they do. But at the same time, being an LCP, realizing what your responsibility is on your shoulders and trying to meet the right decision or make the right decision. And this is where a lot of doubts come in. So I think on the side of being LCP, one advice I can give you is, once again, the same advice I give you today in the morning. Be yourself, trust yourself. For example, I'm a person, I trust my guts. But it's me. I know you know yourself better. You know in what state you need to be in order to make this decision. Because in fact, there's one thing, is that by the end of the last speech, you're going to have a ballot in your hand. And then the choice has to be made. And sometimes people realize that it's just too short of a time, because actually you need your moment. Like, you need to get down, you need to be for yourself and to realize what you want to do. But you don't have that much of time anymore. Meaning that the decision process needs to be kicked off now. And this is why I'm standing in front of you, saying that something miracle, something beautiful is going to happen in several minutes. The first candidate is going to come in, and they're going to introduce you and invite you together, shape with you, ISIC 2015 and beyond. The story of our ISIC in Germany was very, very exciting. And on the side of the candidate is that when you go here, when you stay on the stage, you don't have anything. The only thing matters, and the only moment in your life is just this one. Like, literally, you have nothing anymore in your life. In fact, you don't even see the faces of people because it's just so exciting to see. So I wish you guys show like the greatest support you can, the greatest admiration, because it costs a lot of courage. And not in sense of courage to send an invocation and say it on the stage, but courage to say things you want to say, to stand up for something you believe in. And if we talk about leadership development, this is the best demonstration we can have. So from my side, I hope you enjoy this. I hope you will find your something which will tell you the right things in the right moment. Enjoy it and give all the best you have for the candidates because it's amazing. With this, have fun.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nastasia. We now come to the election agenda. I'm not going to guide you through each day and tell you when you have to be where, because you can see that in the normal agenda as well. What I'm going to do now in the following minutes is show you what's actually going to happen in which step of the election process, what is like the purpose, because when we put together an application process, we think about each step and think about why we use it and what we should assess during that step in the election process. So that in the end of the process, you can make up your mind and come to a reasonable result. The election process starts today with the introduction and the case study. So we would recommend you to assess the candidate's ability to argue and communicate under pressure. So also as a briefing for you guys, the candidates we're going to present in about 20 minutes are going to be under a lot of pressure because they have a very limited time frame to present their case, but also to present themselves. And it's their challenge to manage those two tasks together. Tomorrow in the morning, and after lunch, we'll have the regional rounds, which are, of course, the in-depth interviews of candidates. Your regional coordinators have the Laufzettel or the plan on where you have to be when. The candidates also know when they have to be where, so you can ask them all the questions that are on your mind. So use this step in the process to clarify any open questions you might have and get a deep, in-depth understanding of the candidate's view of the organization and his or her personality. This is like something you could assess during this. Any questions so far? This doesn't seem to be the case. Tomorrow in the evening, we'll have the MCP panel discussion, which is going to be moderated by Cole. The purpose, or what you can assess during this step in the process, is the empathy and the ability to argue and the ability to connect, I think, to the external world, depending, of course, on the issues that the candidates are debating in this panel discussion. And, of course, in the end, on Saturday in the evening, we'll have the final speech, like the grand finale of the election process, and the Q&A, in which your task is pretty much understand the candidate, but the underlying question of all this is this the right person to lead ISAC in Germany for the next generation? And of course, you can use the Q&A to clarify any open questions. So, especially for the MCP speech and the Q&A and the election happening afterwards, keep the whole process in mind when voting, because as you can see today, the RLP election happened directly after the RLP speech and Q&A. And it's going to be pretty much like that on Saturday as well. You will not have a big break to make up your mind. So this making up your mind should be a process that's ongoing throughout the entire weekend. So don't wait for the speech to get clarity on who you want to see the next time. So again, your time after the speech is going to be very limited. Also dress appropriately, especially for the MCP speech. Yes, here again, the underlying question for the whole process, is this the right person to lead ISAC for the next generation? This is something that should be on your mind. It's not about the sympathy you might have for some of the candidates because you know them personally or because you've already seen a lot of them. It's really about your understanding as a leader of this organization and what do you think is best for the organization for the next term. And with that, I come to the introduction to the case study and the introduction of the candidate. So I'm going to present you the task that the candidates had. And yeah, I'm just going to do this. Based on your vision for the term 1516, propose a suitable NC structure in the OMT. And furthermore, point out the implication of the structure on organizational development, the NSB and ACs in ISEC in Germany. So the candidates had 60 minutes to prepare flip charts. Everybody had the same set of materials, something to write on, of course, to prepare an output and to make up their mind about this question. In the following, they will have 10 minutes to present their case, but also introduce themselves. So this is going to be their biggest challenge. And afterwards, there will be a 10-minute Q&A regarding the case study. Correct. The order is going to be, Johannes is going to be the first candidate starting at 9:30, then we have 20-minute time. Of course, we need to change a bit, like we need some time to set up the stage again, but then Maria is going to be on stage, and lastly, Max. So far, any questions about the case study and how that process is going to look like? Just going to check the clock. Yes, so my final advice for you, enjoy the process, try to get the most out of it, but never forget that you observe and assess responsibly as a leader of this organization. Not necessarily, of course you're going to put your personality in the assessment process, because you're going to use all the intelligence and all the quick-mindedness of you that you have to assess and find out who's the right candidate to be MCP of ISEC in Germany for the next term. But be aware of your role as a leader in this organization and think about from an organizational perspective on the whole thing. This would be the recommendation. So right now, we're going to have a bit of free time before the first candidate comes in. Before he comes in, of course, we will have a bit of a build-up. So please, again, stay in the room, as we still need to have a forum for the whole process, and we will see each other soon.
Okay, guys, just a point, please do not leave the room. This is still part of the official election process, and if you leave the room, you're actually using voting rights, so don't do this. You don't want to lose the voting right now directly on confirm. Okay? Thank you.
Keep in mind, this is not any election. This is the MCP election for Isaac in Germany for the term 2016. So be very excited. I'll ask you to get up.
That's a show beginner.
Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, and a very good evening. I am very honored to stand here right now in front of you. And I'm not only very honored to stand here, I'm also very happy to be finally standing in front of you. And it's not only about this plenary right now, it's also being on this conference. It's about being in this process of an MCP election, which is something very challenging and is really driving one to one's limits. Which also means that I'm right now very, very, very nervous. You know, my heart is normally like around here, like somewhere up there. And this is because I'm standing here with everything that I am. And I'm standing here with all the ideas that I had for Isaac in Germany. And of course, you, as a national plenary, you have the obligation, you have the duty to ask me lots of questions and to really evaluate who I am and if I'm the right person for this position. And that again is something very, very nice. Because I mean, when do I again get the chance of 55 people plus random people asking me questions? You know, it is something that really unravels the unknown for me as well. Because every hour of this process, I learn something about myself. And this again also means that if you should elect me, everything that you know about me will also be that person that is later on the MCP. I believe in the power of the ideas that I have, and I believe in the person that I am, and still it's very challenging. So I'd like to invite you for a conversation. It's, of course, I'm like approaching a lot of people, but I would very much like to invite you to approach me. To those of you who I already did some small talk to, which is very nice because you can crack a lot of jokes. Or those ones of you that I only talked about strategy. Or those ones that I sat with all night and had a very philosophical discussion about, I don't know, the purpose of life. I think there's multiple sides of a person, and of course that's also true for me. And if you have the feeling that you by now only know one, feel free to approach me because I'll be here all week. And right now we're going to start into something which is very, very interesting. It's the first step in, of course, also your process of getting to know me, which is very nice and formalized, the German way. So that's why we have a case study presentation. You all know the case, and I guess you already know the solution. That's very good because I only have like a small idea. And that's what I'm going to present to you now. Are you ready for that? Nice. Okay, so we're going to start with something easy, something that you already know. Can you read it in the back? I'm going to read it out. Okay. So, at the end of my application, just before the blank page challenge, there's these 3 sentences summing up the vision that I have for ISEC in Germany. It's an ISEC in Germany that is fit for the future, that an ISEC Germany that has the power of and it is an ISEC Germany that is standing up for what it believes in. You know, the second 2 points, you can't really put them into an MC structure, so we're going to focus on is the point fit for the future. You probably could have already guessed that because it's then right here. So, it is basically consisting out of 2 points. One is the organizational development model that you will also get to know about tomorrow. And the other one is continuity of the stuff that we're already doing, which is good. That, of course, is also a part of the OD model. And still, those 2 can be reflected in an MC structure. You know, I have to hold my breath if I'm not talking because you hear it on the microphone. So, this one is very simple. You have a member committee president, you have a VP finance, and you have a MCP POD. It's nothing else, it's a CEO, so a chief executive officer, a CFO, which in the ISEC case is also the chief legal officer, but never mind. And you have an MCVP, who is actually also the chief of operations, so the COO, which is basically the core team. And if you look at ELSI organizational health, you will see that these are the main criteria that we also have to know if we are healthy or not. Because it is about financial stability, of course, because we want to be there until hopefully forever. And it's also about proper leadership development. So let us get into detail. We're talking about this. You know, finance at the moment is still doing a lot of operational work. Lovely Daniel has lovely Sabine. She's the accountant in the office, but at the moment, it would be nice if she could do more because Dan is doing a lot of actual operational finance work that he should not really do on themselves. It's so cool. Okay, so this one here is the one to search. Who can see the additional position on this flip chart? Extra lit now.
OD manager.
OD manager, that is correct. So, it is actually an additional person on the MCP. Besides the fact that this person is supposed to get a salary that needs to come from somewhere, it is also a person that will lift the load of the MCVP finance and of the MCP POD. You know, you have this OC contact responsible, which is mostly the MCVP finance, which is nice, yet not operational or strategic finance work. And then you have an MCV POD, which would love to actually do OD work, yet is doing a lot of conference coordination. And you can go so far as to say that 50% of the MCV POD JD is covered with actually managing conferences. So this very good-looking person right there is supposed to take care of that. It's another manager that is actually focusing the organization on OD. And this year, it's nothing new. you know that already. It's just put into two different structures because PM and marketing, of course, have a lot of interfaces with all of those, whereas the OGC DPI GIP interface, it is not the biggest. What does it mean, not only for the MC structure and for that financial criteria we have to talk about at some point, what does it mean for the NSP and the LCs? In my head, it is about the upside down pyramid. I would love to go into detail with about that, but sadly we have to do this after my talk. What it means, in essence, is that you have, instead of a top-down communication, you have a bottom-up communication, which actually means LC empowerment, which actually means that we don't have VPs anymore that say, nobody told me that, so I did not do it. But you actually have VPs that say, okay, who do I have to ask for that information? Because that is the guidance an actual OD model can give an organization. Very hard breathing this one. Because if you have actual guidance on what you could do, if you have front office and back office alignment and you don't really have to think about it yourself all the time, and if you have some basics laid out, you can really make decisions that will push your LC forward. All right, so always take notes. Pro tip for every speech you ever make, always bring notes, even on your hand. So for the NSP means it is supposed to be an actual middle management in our organization. You know that from local level. If you have a team leader, he's actually supposed to take the operational workload of your VP, so your VP can do EV and strategic work. It's the same is actually true for our NSP. It should be a real middle management doing the operational support for the LCs. In general, I believe that we're doing a lot of good stuff, which is also reflected in most of the MC structure being the same as before. And I think with a focus on organizational development, we'll be able to keep all our good stuff and improve it even more, and even be fit for the future, which is what we just talked about. As I see still a lot of questions in your face, I am very much looking forward to the first round of official questioning. Even though I have like 1.5 minutes left, which we can spend, I don't know, me not talking.
So this is going to be as usual, so raise your cards if you have any questions concerning the case study. We will do a speakers list and then you get the right vote and that's it. So if you have any questions, raise your hand.
Was ist das hier? Ich mache erstmal LC Bochum, LC Mannheim, Ines, Husky, Kavi, LC Bielefeld, LC Karlsruhe.
Hello, dear Johannes. Thank you very, very much for your case study and for your application. It's an honor. I have a question. Since today in the morning I have been sharing one of my key learnings of being an MCP, that structure follows strategy. I would like you to underline for me once again, maybe in 1 to 2 sentences, what is the strategy of the term living out the LD model, since the strategy will be driven already in this term.
Okay, so I think there is a lot of strategies that you will do as an MC team, and I do believe that the idea that you have as an MC, the vision that you have, is like the starting point and is also a guiding element in that process. Yet I don't think that an MCP, or I as a person, can be an expert to outline every functional strategy. So what I try to depict with the Fit for the Future point is that an elected or selected MC team needs to find out which of the processes that we have right now and their results are good. And I think those are a lot. I mean, I named them in the application, which is like bringing finance online, continuing exact online, and doing online, like all that stuff that we talk about every day. But the main, like the baseline of the strategy that I think is very important is that you align an organization towards, I don't want to say the future, but to at least the goal that you have somewhere in the future, which we will do this term, of course. And we already shifted the timeline of the OD model back already, since we started working on it 3 weeks ago. And since it's a long-term project, I think it will be of major relevance also in the next term. So I think it is still the main strategic element that I can offer you, or that I will offer you. And of course, it means a lot of implications for all functions. Yet, like answering the question, I gave myself a limit of 90 seconds or something like that, so I'm going to stop talking.
Next up is Bochum.
Jana Bochum, thanks for your speech. I have, actually you said my question, but I have another one. It was for the first, one of the first things you said that you learned during this process something about yourself, and I'm curious, what is the most important thing that you learned about yourself?
The most important one?
Yeah. For you.
Okay, so Charlie, the first one that came to my mind is that I'm actually way more impulsive than I think I am. The most important one. I think it's about being myself. And I think it's about not applying with an application that gets re-elected, but applying with an application that is new. And with actually being confident in the person that I am, and not being afraid of arrogance in the process, because it's the one thing I always see in people is, oh, he's very arrogant, and I'm like, oh damn, that's your greatest fear. So actually, like having that confidence in myself without being in arrogance, and actually like standing in front of you, and just being that is something I'm gonna take home.
Next is Ina from MC.
Thank you very much, Johannes, for standing here and standing up for the position of MCP. My question is directly concerning the structure you suggested. Since I'm also my heart is in the BD area, and I would like to know why you put BD, like the MCP BD and the BD manager, in the range of the operations and not in the part of the support functions.
A very good question. I thought about it as well while listening to the very loud roll call. I was thinking about putting it somewhere else, even like putting it next to the VP Finance. And then again, I think with the National Exchange product that is at the moment mostly developed by you and Stefan, and with the like BD should always have a contribution towards leadership development, and I think in this operational areas that actually like facilitate the exchange, I see BD more in there than next to TM and marketing, next to the VP Finance, and having BD as an extra in the core team. So I'm very sad to admit that like the best fit I could find, and it's not necessarily the best solution there is. Yeah, but I love that you do it.
Okay, next is Husky, Javi, Bielefeld, Karlsruhe, Halle.
Hi, Johannes. Thank you very much for standing here, and thank you very much for your application this speech. I would like to know from you how, in your model you presented, the core team and the operations are working together, and where do you see bottlenecks, as you mentioned that there are not that many changes.
Thank you. Like in general, the problem that you already have right now in the MC team is that you have way too many meetings and that you don't have time to actually work before 6 p.m. And the thing is, just to make a suggestion, you would probably have a meeting with those people at some point in the week because you want to know how your organization is doing. you would probably have a meeting with those people because you want to know like what the solutions are. And you would probably have a meeting of only those people and only those people also because you know they need to coordinate. And then you would try to have a meeting with all of those people as well. So then I thought about, okay, how can we like have less meetings without having less synergy? So I can't make them meet every 2 weeks. I have to admit, I am very much reliant on what Nastasia and you guys are going to say in the transition to actually figure out what the main bottleneck is. Because I spent like 6 hours in Young's office. That's not really a very good insight. And even though I talked to some other MCPs, it's not something I can figure out on the fly. So I'm very much reliant to figure out what the actual implication of that structure is in reality. I do think, though, that it is important to have this kind of structuring because, of course, the exchanges need to do what the other exchanges are doing. And like all the stuff that I just explained from myself. So I'm very sorry, but I don't have a very good answer to that because I just don't know
yet. Thank you, Johannes. I think I'm the senior before you. I want to make a question like regarding the structure. You know that Isaac is going to the. We cannot continue talking about the brand in the same way. That means that Isaac is going to the digital transformation and multipliers. What do you think is better to increase a position as OD manager and not exactly open a PR manager or digital marketing manager?
Also a very good question. If I would have like a limitless supply of money, it would be very nice to have a lot of more managers in here. For example, why not have a non-GCP manager who is just taking care of processing? But the problem is we have to prioritize, and I think the process of digital marketing or a branding manager or however you want to call it, JD, is also possible to have it in the NSP. It's actually also possible with an OD manager. You could add a microphone. Oh, it's fine. Yeah, I can hear myself too. Okay. I'll get also the feedback. You could also have the position of OD manager in the NSP, of course. You could also have the position of OD manager in the NSP, of course. Yet, this position is very much reliant on all the info you have on a day-to-day basis in the MC. Whereas digital marketing, you're way better able to communicate virtually than with this position, because that's like also daily MC work as far as I understood so far. That's why it is a priority decision, not necessarily a decision that I wouldn't make without limited money. So, yeah, it's basically financial contracting. Team management is also an aspect, but not the point of the question.
Okay, last question goes to Bielefeld.
Stefan Bielefeld, Iona, thanks for your application. Actually, I was wondering, you were talking about LC empowerment and doing the bottom-up system. How will that affect the structure of the MC? If you evaluate.
I think the structure is affecting the communication. So what that means is, with a clearer organizational development path, it is easier for LCs and the NSP to know themselves what would be the better solution. Which means you can actually have your decisions on local level in like a broader range of topics, so to say. Can I ask if I have to evaluate further? Because I feel it's a very short answer, or no, I can't. Can I? No. I'm talking to myself. But feel free, we can talk. Okay, thank you.
So the time is also already over, so give it up for Johannes.
Of course, we want to give every MCP applicant the same warm welcome as we just did to Johannes. So please get very excited again, get up, and give it up for Maria.
Thank you very much. Thank you a lot for this very warm welcome. It's a great honor to stand in front of such a very powerful room, full of brave and smart individuals who are passionate about leading our organization. For the coming days, I wish you from the bottom of my heart to have challenging, interesting, and thought-provoking conversations. But most of all, I want to use these coming days to show you who I really am, what I stand for, and what kind of leader I am. Because honestly, let's face it, until the start of my term, a lot of things are still going to change. You as a generation will push ISEC Germany towards new heights, and you will transform ISEC Germany in the process. And I will find a team of very smart and brave individuals with great ideas and new concepts, and all of this is going to change. But the one thing that's going to stay constant is who I am, what I stand for, and what I believe in. So this is what I want to show you in the process. And I thought about a lot of things, so how can I show it to you? Because I don't want to repeat what I already said in my application and in my video. So I thought, what else can I show you of me? And I realized I actually didn't tell you a lot about my ISEC journey and how ISEC transformed me and made me the person who I am today. So for that, I chose 2 events of my ISEC experience that are very important in shaping me, and I want to tell you a bit more about them. The first one was in 2011. I know I'm in the organization for a while now. And it was when I went to India for 6 weeks for a GCDP program. To be honest, my India experience was what you would maybe call the typical Indian experience, because everything went wrong in the beginning. And then at the end, you come out of it with a lot of great memories and a lot of funny stories to tell. But what's important about the time in India is that this time taught me to really believe in myself and in my ability to cope with situations that are unknown to me. And also that curiosity and a sense of adventure are generally a pretty good mix. But most of all, my time in India taught me to push through difficult times. Because if everything goes wrong in the beginning, it's not easy. But quitting and leaving and going home early was never an option for me, simply because I wasn't gonna go home after my stay in India, because I wanted to go straight towards Hong Kong for my semester abroad. So I had a flight booked from India to Hong Kong with no option to quit or leave early. And this situation forced me to push through difficult moments, and this situation turned difficult challenges into brilliant new opportunities pretty damn fast. So that was really good for me, actually. And the second experience I want to talk about in my ISEC time was actually a couple of months later in Hong Kong, when I was a facilitator at the National Leadership Development Seminar in Hong Kong. By the time I had already worked with ISEC in Hong Kong for a couple of months, and seeing ISEC in a different country, seeing what ISEC can also be, and what ISEC can mean to other people, that was really inspiring for me, and it is still today. Seeing ISEC in another country is just very motivating and inspiring for me, because it challenges your perspective of the organization. It challenges everything that you think is true about how we do ISEC, because it brings you new perspectives on the organization. So that was already very important to me, but the moment that stands out most to me on this conference was when I was actually not facilitating. Or by that time I had actually not been in the EB so far, so I was a team leader before. And by that time, I pretty much very underestimated what kind of responsibility comes with being PAI. I had
by far not any remote qualifications to do that job. But when the facilitator went like this, my arm shot in the air because at that moment that just seemed like a really great opportunity. And at that moment, I might have been crazy naive, and I might not have been knowing what I was doing. But at that moment, what I knew was that I was hungry. I was hungry for more, and I was hungry for every opportunity that this organization could give me. And beyond that, at this moment, I wanted to be a role model, because I wanted to show everyone in this room they should stop being scared of something that looks big and that looks difficult, and that they should dare to take a challenge, and they should dare to take on a bigger opportunity. That was what I wanted to do with this. And I was not going to be PAI, obviously. I wanted to show that, and I wanted to bring that in the plenary. This is why this moment still is in my head as if it would have happened yesterday. And this feeling that I had in this moment, it never stopped. I always have this feeling with me, and I am always hungry for more. And in my time in ISEC, I have been challenged, and I have doubted. I have doubted myself, and I have doubted the organization. But I always came back wanting more, and I always came back hungry, and I always came back believing in what we can become as an organization. And this is why I am standing here today as MCP, and this is candidate, and this is why I believe in ISEC as being a leadership development organization. This is the vision that I have for this organization, to move on from being just an exchange service provider to being a leadership provider. And if you look at that, it is also a strategic pillar of my strategic priorities for the next year. And if you look at how we can reflect that in the MCT, which is the case study that is proposed to us, at the beginning I thought, well, the working areas that are represented on our MC, I think they are very suitable to represent what we are doing as an organization. And I'm not a fan of changing something just for the sake of changing it. So I didn't necessarily want to change any of the positions, because I think the positions that we have represented are representing our organization quite well, and also what I want to do with the organization. So then I played with the different scenarios on how you could allocate the positions on MCVP and director level, and I had different points, and all of them didn't really feel right, and all of them didn't fully encapsulate what I wanted to present with my strategy. So it brought me to a point where I thought, okay, what is the difference between MCVP and MC director? And if you look at what kind of work people on the MC are doing, I don't see a big difference, because the workload is the same, the functional, the expertise is the same, the contact to the local level is pretty much the same, and we can have that the same. So what is the difference? And for me, the difference that I saw that is most graspable is that MCVP has a voting right, and he is in his position supported by the national plenary, and with that he bears a lot of more responsibility. So working from that kind of idea, I thought, okay, why do we have MCVP and director? Maybe we just can allocate it on the voting right. And with this, I came up with a structure that doesn't look very different from what we have right now. Has the MCP on top, because I didn't want to cancel the position I'm running for. And then what I came up with, I'm just going to put everything, just don't interpret until I explain. And please excuse the ugliness. Okay. One of them is missing. Imagine something else here. Okay. So what I came up with is, if we just make the difference between director and MC VP according to voting right, then I propose to make it according to the functions that we have represented locally as well, because those are the functions that are driving our development as an organization. So we have, in my proposal, an MCVP ISIX, an MCVP OJX, an MCVP OD, an MCVP TM, and imagine an MCVP marketing and an MCVP finance. Why OD? We don't have OD on local level. Well, what are we using our voting rights for? We're using it to legislate on the organizational development that we see. So this is why I think OD should also be represented here with a voting right, because they are working on the organizational development. And then we have an ICX director, an OJX director, a BD director, and MAP director, and also imagine here an IT director. So then, because as I said, I think
the areas that we have, they work quite well. So I didn't want to drop any of the areas. I just renamed them according to who gets voting right and who doesn't. And I can get into more detail of this in the Q&A if you're interested, because I also want to elaborate on the NSP that we have. NSP-wise, I didn't change much as well. I am currently seeing some minor problems that we have in the NSP concerning the effectiveness. So what I did is, concerning LCDS team course, I kind of reallocated it into an OD team, so a team that supports organizational development with the areas of organizational growth and development, NSP education and NSP development, and also planning-based change. And then I have a key support team that you could also call vehicles, who has the current vehicle responsibility as well as functional coaching for LCDs. Second thing I changed was that we have somewhere over here an entity and an entity-co at the moment, and I don't think this is working quite well, so I wanted to put the two teams together. And then I thought, okay, let's rename it, but renaming it doesn't really make sense, because what's the team doing is caring for the trainers on a national level, for the national trainer team, so let's call it entity. So I have both positions in there.
I am so sorry, Maria.
And basically, this is what I got. Looking forward to your questions and to elaborating on this.
Okay, first of all, yeah, we have of course Nastasia first, then LC Halle, Renard, LC Düsseldorf, Joao, LC Karlsruhe, LC Nürnberg, Ines, LC Dresden, Husky, LC Bielefeld.
Dear Maria, thank you very much for standing here and thank you very much for your application. My question is kind of connected to what I said today in the morning, and said one of my key learnings was as an MCP that structure follows strategy. So could you please underline maybe a strategy for the next term in connection with the vision that you have for your organization, as organization being leadership development?
I can what you said. Yes, yes, I can. Okay, so in my application, I proposed 5 strategic pillars. One that is the most overarching one is providing leadership development experiences on every level of ISEC. So not only EB and up, and also the experiences I chose in my introduction, but experiences that happened to me before I was on the EB level. So I want to see leadership development on every level, which is why I think TM should have a very strong responsibility. That's why it's represented in the national board, a strong responsibility not only to look after members generally, but to care for talent capacity and talent development, and have that as a topic in mind, and also work together, obviously, with the rest of the MC to bring leadership development to every level. This is also why I wanted to make the training area more efficient, which is why I changed the MSP allocation, because I don't think it's working, so that we can have the training resources that we need, where we need them, when we need them. This is also why I thought that training should maybe generally be more connected to the MCP, but I kind of didn't have space to draw the NSP. But generally imagine the NSP and especially the training area be connected together in order to represent that.
Okay, so next is Halle, Renard, Düsseldorf, Joao.
Hello, Maria, Jules Halle. That's me. I'm wondering, what is a map director? Is that a abbreviation of something to explain what the map director should do? And why is the position between, like, where is the dotted line between BD and map director?
Yes, I can. That's basically the development from the position in it, because map is a major account partnerships. So this basically has the responsibility of managing, for example, the PDHL partnership with the TMs. And this is why this position should work closely together with the BD director. The current situation we have is that we have the MCP BD and then the BD director, and I kind of reflected that in calling it differently because I didn't want to have 2 BD directors and make the responsible areas more clear.
Next is Renard.
Hello, Maria. Nancy. Yes, really great to see you here. My question is concerning our customer flows. So everything right now is advancing very fast. We have a new online system. In your structure, I don't see anybody responsible for information management. Where would you allocate that responsibility?
On the part that is missing here that I had, where I had an IT director.
Thank you very much.
Frau Düsseldorf, thank you very much for your speech. I would like to know, as you said, that you see the only difference between a VP and a director for the voting right. I would like to know why you still see the necessity of the difference.
Yes, thank you very much. That's one part that I thought about a lot, because when I said the work that the people on the MCP is pretty much the same, I thought, okay, the first option that we would have is to just make them all MCPs. And I decided against this because I think it would greatly change the voting right distribution between national and local level. I don't think it is fair, because I don't want the MC to be able to have the power to vote against motions just by themselves. So I didn't want to have 11 MCPs here. And that's why I thought, okay, how else can we allocate it? And I thought about the reflection of what is the thing that drives our organizational development. So that's why I came up with this kind of script.
Hello, Maria. So, João from the MC. Thank you very much for your speech. So it is an international trend for a while now to divide OGX because it's two completely different programs today. And yes, you have two people taking care. So my question to you is, how would you divide the work of OGX between these two people? Who would be the one with voting right, and why did you decide upon that?
Thank you for that question. That enables me to talk about it after my time talking, because that's what I thought about here. I would allocate the responsibility so that one person is taking care of OGCDP and one of OGIP, just as we have it right now, because I also see that the products are different and that they require a different set of expertise. So I wouldn't change that, but I thought about, okay, then who's the one who gets voting right? And to me, honestly, it doesn't matter, because what I wanted to achieve with this kind of structure is that OGX as a general area is represented with a voting right. So what I also said is voting right comes from the national plenary giving you the support, that they give you a vote of confidence, and that's why then you are MCP. So for me, it would just be the person who got the vote of confidence, because as you know, the directors are not elected. And whether that person then afterwards takes care of OGLP or OGCDP, I don't care. He should do what he can do best. But the voting right represents the OGX area, so outgoing exchange. And that's why I don't see that we should have this generally as a GCDP position or the GIP position.
Next, Karlsruhe, Nürnberg, Ines, Dresden, Husky, Bielefeld, Dortmund.
Nadine Karlsruhe, thank you for your application. What I want to ask you is not about the strategy, but we're talking a lot about good quality experience on exchange. But as you said, yours was not the one which you had like the best experience. So how do you measure that high quality experience by having a good leadership if that is necessary for it?
Yes, thank you for the question. Actually, if we think about quality of the exchange, we should think of exchange as an enabler of leadership development experience. And if you look at it like that, my experience in India was great, because it made me a leader. It made me take responsibility. Not that like all the circumstances were great, but the experience I took out of it was exactly what we as ISEC should do, make a person grow. And in that case, we have to think whether we can really measure quality in some kind of standards, but I still think that those standards are important to make this leadership development experience easier, and that's why we have all those kind of criteria that measure a quality exchange, right? But if we think about ISEC as a leadership development organization, then the quality of the experience is what kind of learning we got out of it. And that we can facilitate by ensuring that we have this actual inner journey as part of our LDM, leadership development model, that this actually takes place. And for that, we are starting to introduce now welcome seminars. For example, we are thinking about income preparation seminars that also should take place abroad than from other countries. So those are then the enablers to make sure that this experience actually is a leadership development.
Anna Nürnberg. Thanks a lot for your speech. It was really, really cool. You've been talking about your time in Hong Kong, and you said that you realized what ISAC actually means to people in other countries and what they envision in this organization. So was there something that stick to your mind that probably inspired you to bring to Germany as well, that is probably missing in Germany from that? Thank you. The thing is, and it did not only come from Hong Kong, but also facilitated a conference in Vietnam as well, and it was exactly the same. What you have to understand is that we as a German society are very privileged. So we have a pretty good life, but in other countries, the opportunities you have as a young person are much more limited. So ISAC is one of the only options that people in other countries have to have this kind of experience, and that's why it has a very different meaning to them. And it inspired me to see the opportunity and the potential that we can have as an organization to also shape this society as a general bigger context, not only ISAC. And this is true, something that I would like to see in Germany, but for that we have to keep in mind that our society is generally very privileged, so we have to pick our battles. We can't say we have to make Germany a better place, because it is a pretty much good place. So we have to be more specific about the things that we want to change in society. Ms. MC, dear Maria, thank you very much for your application and setting up for the MCP position of ISAC in Germany. My question concerns the structure and also already mentioned positioning of PD director and MAP director. I would like to know why there is no MCP PD in your structure anymore, and therefore no voting right for this area. Thank you. I chose that because I allocated the voting right according to the things that I feel have the most impact on the organizational development. And I thought about how I see the lead position and PD generally ensures that we have a great national pricing system, so we have a good NFP structure, that we are nationally competitive with products like a CSR project, for example, and that we are financially sustainable. And I thought about how is that reflected in the voting right allocation that I have, and I feel that financial sustainability is represented by giving the MCP finance a voting right. So this is reflected in the MCP. And then the contact to our partners and the expertise that we take from them and put into the organization, that is actually very much also represented on the board of advisors, which is handled by the MCP. So that is represented in the MCP voting right. This is why I thought it's not necessary to have another voting right to represent those two things.
Give it up for Maria!
The last candidate of the night is waiting outside. So we film equally as all the others a warm welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Let me start with a short story. When I was LCP, I went on my second planning days with my EB. And we had the perfect planning day. We were very efficient, we were very fast, we were focused on our results, on achieving our goal, and we worked until late in the night. Late in the night then, we had some beers. And for the first time in my whole term, I told my EB how I really felt. And at that moment, I felt very useless as an LCP. I felt very useless as a team leader. Because my VPs were handling everything pretty well by themselves. And I felt shit about this. And I didn't feel so shit about this because they were handling it, but I actually felt shit about telling them in that moment how I felt. Because I was not the perfect team leader anymore. I was not the guy who was without struggles. Now my EV didn't feel like shit about that. They actually felt quite good about it. And for them, the Max, the machine, turned into somebody more human, which was probably the best thing that happened in my term. Because from that moment on, I was not just on a very well functional connection with them, but also personal connection. So what can we learn from that story about me, about Max? There are two sides of me. There's the business Max, let's call him so, and that's the guy you probably all know. He's very professional, he's perfectionist, he's not easy to get to, and he loves to talk about big business, big politics, entrepreneurship. So don't be surprised when you approach him with the latest episode of Game of Thrones and he says, yeah, so what's the business model behind it? But there's also other Max. I would call him the emotional Max. Emotional. And the emotional Max can be very random sometimes. He can run around in the city in a snowman costume, or he can rhyme. Because he's not just a perfectionist. He also has some doubts on his list. Doubts he wants to talk to you about, and not just scream out loud. The emotional Max also cares, especially about little things. Like he loves to talk about issues, but put him on a balcony and just have the sun beaming into him. Or put him on a mountaintop and have the landscape in front of him. Or just give him a 5-minute break during the day and have a little espresso. That's a perfect moment for him. That's something really he loves to enjoy. And the emotional Max also cares about his friends, his family, the team around him. And when they struggle, he wants to find a solution for them because he cares. Because it's not just about issues for him. But I got great news for you guys. Because you don't have to decide for the business Max or the emotional Max. You get both in the package. So I want to invite you for the next 3 days. Use the info to get to know both sides of me. Not just the business side, because you probably know that, but especially also the emotional, the random, the funny side. And I'm really looking forward to those days, showing off my emotional side of myself. But now let's get down to business. And start with the case study. When we talk about what the MC structure of 1516 should look like, then in my opinion, we first need to look at what should the organization, how should it develop? So that's how we'll start out. So, for me, I see Germany in 1516, and I think it will be a result of the transformation process we started now, should become less hierarchical and more collaborative organization. And with this, the role of the MC would also change. Because of this, the MC would not be the main strategic think tank or education hub, but the MC would more be a collaboration facility and infrastructure provider. Why? Because with a more collaborative organization, you can actually use the 47 entities we have. Not everybody working on their own problems, but solving different problems all together, freeing a lot of resources to then deliver more results. Now, what does an MC structure look like that supports this organization? So, to start off with, we will have an MCP. And what will probably not surprise you, we'll have a VP marketing. I propose to have a VP finance. I also propose to have a VP OD because this involves some organizational development as well. What's new in there is probably for many of you VP IM or VP IT or VP technology. Why did I put that in there? I think for us, the IT is not just a tool anymore, but it's actually something that's becoming more and more essential for the whole organization. And this is not just ISIC, that's also our external environment. Organizations need to take more and more care of IT and digital things and digital business. So I think it's crucial to have this position as a VP position in the next MCP. I also have a VP TM in there, and yes, OD and TM sometimes have some very strong interfaces, but I believe there's a lot of educational structure, educational cycles involved in providing a collaborative organization. And I have a VPVD in there, not because I'm currently VPVD, but because I still think that there are national partners that can be strong multipliers, which need to be centrally managed to provide the infrastructure that can then support the whole organization. Now we have the infrastructure there, right? So we have infrastructure, LCs can collaborate, and they have a lot more resources. So what do they do with the resources? Yes, you can go more partying or rhyming or hiking, but we can also run more operations. We can provide more experiences. We can provide more experiences to our members, but especially also to EPs and interns. And for this, we need operations, right? So, yeah, no, I'm not the best painter or drawer, but what I would suppose would be a VP operations. A VP operations, which with LCs that run more themselves and have more free resources, focus on pushing the whole entity forward. Because we together deliver a result, not 47 results, but we together. And it's one person that will motivate, track, push, make sure that we get there. And this guy, or this girl, will have 4 people, currently 4. I put it a question mark there because who knows what other exchange programs ISIC might develop in the future. So I put 4 people there for each of the programs that then can directly manage the NSP and also manage the collaboration and the collaboration process in the specific programs. And with this, I present to you my proposition for the MC structure 1568. Thank you very much.
Okay, you know how it works. First of all, to start, LC Dortmund, Dr. Öl, LC Bielefeld, Ines, Benar, LC Halle, LC München, ASCII, LC Mannheim, LC Karlsruhe, LC Stuttgart, LC Kaiserslautern, LC Hamburg.
Yeah, Max, thank you very much for your application. I'm standing here for something you believe it. My question goes, I read something in your application which went structure follows strategy and culture eats strategy for breakfast. Can you please, in 3 sentences, describe the main strategy for for 15, 16, having in mind that actually a lot of things you still can do in 14, 15.
So, a good question. So for me, the three main elements for strategy 1516 are, first of all, an operations-based approach. Something, yes, we already currently do, but I nevertheless think it's still relevant in 1516 to put the operations first and focus on the main bottlenecks. So not have these sentences. Yes, focus on the main bottlenecks there. Secondly, have a very strong front office and back office alignment. And yes, we will still work on that. But then nevertheless, we have seen over the last years that this is a crucial element for the success of the whole organization and also for the experience people have. And the third crucial element is technology. And we just introduced Expert, and yes, we will make Expert work, and Expert will be there, but it's not just Expert, it's technology in very many other areas that we need in the organization. And this is why I think IT or technology could be the third crucial element that needs to run through many other things within the organization to also make collaboration happen.
Next, Dortmund, Trüli, Bielefeld, Ines.
So, Mr. Dortmund, thank you very much for your speech. Next, my question goes, is where do you see the main benefits of the new bottom-up concept that you explained from the LCs to the MCs?
Thank you very much for the question. It's less a bottom-up concept than an all-together concept, I would say. Because the main idea is that we look at how can we as one organization allocate our resources best. So to give you an example, we have a major bottleneck in the IGAP area, and then we try, okay, which people can we put together to solve this problem? So let's say we choose someone from the IGAP NSD who is the project lead, and then some people from the LCs join in to solve this bottleneck. So the other 46 LCs don't have to solve it, just those people who are involved. Maybe also the VP or VP operation wants to be the project lead for this. So it's not about the levels, but it's just which people are involved to save resources.
Hi, Max. Thank you for your amazing speech. I would like to know in which kind of area you would put in the MAP partnerships, if it would fit into BD, and who's taking care of that management on MC level.
Thank you very much for that question. I actually would put the MAP partnerships in the IGAP area because I see a lot of synergies there with the whole knowledge the person is managing the MAP partnerships has. It will also include some changes, or would need to include some changes in JDs, away from the operational management, but rather maybe managing seeders who take care of the MAP partnerships, and also scale it more down to the local level. Regarding the flat management, I guess I would put more effort to Sabina or Festi there, and make that a bigger position than JD.
Next is Biele, Ines, danach Halle.
Yeah, Stefan Bielefeld. Thanks for your presentation. My question goes to the position of a VPOP. Like you want to synergize the energies of all talents in ISIC. How will you make sure that the VP or that an extra position will not slow down the process of synergy because it's an extra person who needs to be involved?
I think in this position you have two things. I believe the VP operations can ensure a better front office, back office alignment to actually creating synergies between the 4 different programs. At the same time, you have a general shift away from like a lot of operational things, education things in the MC towards more facilitating collaboration. So if this also the JD of this VP position would shift to only include the major strategic things, and then ensure that with the empowerment of the NSP as well, that a lot of projects get handled by them and also by the local committees.
Yeah, Max, thank you very much for your application and standing up for the position of MCP of ISIC in Germany. My question also is directly concerning the structure you suggest. First part of the question is if the different functions like IGCP, OG, CDP, IGIP, and OGIP are actually manager positions on the MC, and if not, Why did you make this decision like that?
Thank you very much for the question. From my current point of view, I would make this manager positions for the term 15-16. You could also think about with an NSP empowerment, if it would be possible to make it NSP team leader positions. But I can, at my current idea, not evaluate this part. And I think especially with introducing VP operation position, I think it would be better for full-time positions on the national board.
Nancy, thank you very much for your speech, Max. My question is regarding IGCDP managers. As IGCDP is a very small area right now, and it's not focused, and you would put the map management to IGP area, which weight would be put on IGP and IGCDP, so which would be the focus in the next one?
So right now, for me, from a national perspective, I would focus to get rid of the main bottlenecks in every area. So as I see 2 or 3 like really crucial bottlenecks there, I would put a similar focus on both sides to also for the long run have at least the opportunity to run IGCDP as a program that can also generate revenues for the organization, thus be sustainable and actually be used for growth.
Next is Halle, Husky, Mannheim, Karlsruhe.
Jules Halle, thank you for your application. It was very entertaining. I like your guys. Very nice. I have a question. Due to the fact that I have a really strong VP, and I know you fight a lot sometimes, how do you think could be a VP having 4 managers and very strong like setting in the framework you set? I mean, he's kind of running every operation and being in a conflict with the MCP and the rest of the team, doing to the hierarchy. I see it could be a challenge, right?
Thank you, Jules. That's a very, very good question. Yes, I think you're probably right about that. That could create some disbalances within the team. However, I think with having clear at some point that it's VP positions and that this is sort of the turn. I'm holding with the right hand, but I'm not so good holding with the right hand. So the microphone. So switch it. Yeah. So this is his team. So he would be managing this team, and I think then of course it's very important from the MCP side to do a clear expectation setting right from the beginning with the VP operations, and during the term, of course, also keep his expectations in place.
Hi, Max. Thank you very much for your application and that you're standing there. Daniel MC, Daniel Baumann MC. I would like to hear some backgrounds about your special focus on IT, on IM, and that you create an VPIM office.
I think not just looking at ISIC, but also at like other organizations out there who put a lot more effort on having IT running in every operation, because it takes a lot out of the processes. And it's not just a tool anymore, but it kind of gets involved into the business model. Like we now see with Expert is not just a tool to make matching easier, but it's a tool that's changing the whole customer flow. And with this also part of the experience or part of the business model. And IT can empower us to really massively upscale what we do before involving a lot more effort. Like, of course, upscale has some effort, but in a very smart way. And I think having this in mind as a strategic focus, you will find many other areas in ISIC where you can use IT to, in a very smart way, help us evolve our business model.
Last question goes to Mannheim.
Hey Max, thank you very much for standing here. I'm interested in the VPOP position more, and I would ask you, like, why did you choose to have this VPOP position with handling 4 managers with so completely different products, as we already saw in the last term that we already split these OGX and ISIC. So why did you have one person that is handling 4 products?
Okay, there's several ideas behind it. One idea is that looked in general at which VP positions I would like to see on the board, or which I think are very important. So like introducing the VPIM, which would then take another VP position out, so to say. At the same time, for me, and that's a very crucial point, as I also work with an operations-based approach, the focus should really be on the main bottlenecks. And with this also very much downsizing the workload you have in the different operations. Like in general, of course, the idea behind this is you make it less centralized, and you also give more to the LCs with the whole, let's say, the whole solution for the different bottlenecks, different problems we see in the different programs. And this is the idea that the VP operations then really has in mind only these major bottlenecks, and together with his team then facilitates the solution finding process, so to say, in the organization.
So give it up for Max!
No. Okay. With this on the mind, we end the first day of election. It's going to continue tomorrow in the morning with regional rounds and after lunch also. Please always keep in mind coach recommendation on how to deal with the candidates, be empathetic, understand under which pressure they are at the moment, and keep that in mind for the job. Thank you very much.
Just a short information from our side. So we will just have one roll call tomorrow for the MCP panel discussion in the night. So there is not going to be a roll call for the regional round. Right. Okay. Cool.
Thank you, live stream viewers. See you tomorrow night at 7:30 for the MCP panel discussion. Bye.
Just hold on.